Hi everyone, welcome to We Belong Education video series. My name is Saurubh Malviya, and today I want to talk to you about emotions, types of emotions, functions of emotions, and their connection to behaviors. We also look at the phenomena of triggers. This video is a recorded online webinar which I held a few days ago. I really hope that you enjoy the session, and I look forward to hearing your feedback on it. So I started thinking, which school of thought would educators belong to? So I thought, why not we just do all of it? Why not we just have um, we incorporate all of them? So let's start with philosophies. Now, consciously or unconsciously speaking, we all have an ideology that we believe in. Um, Maybe we may not use the word ideology. Maybe we say, ideals and standards. So I started looking at something called exceptionalism. And exceptionalism is, as Spider-Man says, Uncle Ken of Spider-Man says that with great powers come great responsibilities. That is, if you are an exceptional being, which means that you can do exceptional thing, and given that you can do exceptional thing, that you should do it. The opposite, not the opposite necessarily, but another ideology is objectivity. That is, if the main objective of life is to stay happy. So if you do whatever you can to stay happy, not break the rules or be immoral about it, but the other one is being objectively happy about things. So that's interesting because we often see as an after school care or long day care or even schools, because I can see that several teachers are here as well, that we go through these conflict because we are meant to be the role models, the exceptional beings. Many times we are in front of kids or in front of our educators, and we actually hide our emotions. We don't say what is going through, or we might not even be present about that because we are there role modeling things in people, making sure that people are happy around us. And that is a bit of an idealistic ideology, where you're thinking about you feel that, oh, I am the exceptional being, I'm the manager, I'm the leader, I should lead them well. Interesting. And how you can see that is in the movies. When you watch, let's say you watch Spider-Man or Batman, Superman, you'll see that they want to use the exceptional power, but they don't use the exceptional power in the middle of the movie somewhere. They, even in Spider-Man 3, it starts with how Spider-Man has lost his girlfriend, so he's not gonna be a Spider-Man again. I don't know if it was Spider-Man 2 or 3, I don't know, I don't remember. Even in the Batman, he loses his girlfriend or his love, so no more he wants to be a Batman, no more he wants to be this exceptional being. He's just looking after his own body and his own thing. And as an audience, we can see the conflict the man goes through. In several movies, you would have seen this conflict where someone wants to do something and I've lost something, but they are, whatever. I'm just going to look at my own self. So it's important that we realize that the good balance between the two would be great. Now, if you haven't heard about the exceptional beings or objectivism, perhaps, think about this other one, which we use a lot. It's called collectivist and individualistic. That is, should I look for a collective good or should I look for the individual good? And that's a conflict which I've seen many leaders or many managers go through. And rightly so, because they care about people so much that they want to look after everyone. In fact, Bobby just joined the group. Bobby and I were talking about how many times when we ran our own schools and own management, that many times we let go of our own emotions because that's what we had to do at that time. So let's have a look. Let's have a look at bringing it all together and finding that core balance. And my argument over here is that we can do all of this based on, we can do that if we are a bit more self-aware of our thoughts and feelings, and that we have an environment where we can share this. So one of the things which we deal with is that we know what we should do, but we can't do them many times. We say, hey, I know I should go to gym. I know I should not have that sugar. Sorry, I'm turning my clock on. I know I should not eat sugar as much, but I just can't stop myself. And the questions which we go through is like, I know what I should do, but I don't feel like it. And this word called feeling keeps coming up in our sentences. I don't feel like saying to my own staff member that you're doing something wrong, or I don't feel like talking to the parent that their child did XYZ thing. So there's always this relationship, perhaps an abstract relationship, but it's very real. But how you feel, you do things based on how you're feeling. Be individualistic, objectivist, it doesn't matter. If you feel bad, you kind of end up doing the incorrect or irresponsible things, unless you're aware of it. So let's talk about this awareness, this emotional awareness. I talk a lot about self-awareness, and at the end of it, when I'm sharing with you some resources, there are some videos you can watch on the self-awareness, which is the social and emotional being. But today I want to talk a bit more on emotional awareness, which is a part of self-awareness, but a branch of it. Okay, so let's have a look at that. Now, recent studies a lie, because this has been going on for a while, but I wonder that if any of you have heard, Aaron Beck started this in 1960s was the first time Aaron talked about the relationship between thoughts and behavior. And the way I have put it is not necessarily how Aaron T. Beck would have liked, but it's just, let's do it with this way. So what the theory says is that your thoughts govern your feelings, and based feelings, emotions, and the way you feel it is that you behave. Our focus mostly is on behaving. Even if your friends are going through some tough times, we say, hey, why are you acting that way? Then of course we go through a deeper questioning, that is, hey, tell me what happened, or tell me how are you feeling. And what we are trying to do is we're trying to understand, what were you thinking that you acted this way? In fact, we even ask this very question, what were you thinking? It's because what we now know is, or what we have known for a while, is that our actions are very much aligned with thoughts, and our feelings and emotions are aligned with our thoughts as well. So I'll give you some examples of it. So for instance, actually, sorry, if you have a thought that I gave this example in my recent podcast, and because my dog is sitting right here, I'm going to just use the dog example. Okay. So let's say in the past, when I was a kid, and it is a true story, that a dog bit me. If a dog bit me, and I'm scared of the dog, let's say, a dog comes into my environment, my thoughts are going to be, he's going to bite me, or it is going to bite me. I pay attention to that thought, conscious or unconscious attention. So it doesn't have to be like, oh, I'm looking at the dog. It could be conscious or unconscious attention, like, a dog. And I send a message to my body. And the emotion I might feel is fear. It's an automatic, very like a reflexive thing. It's not that I have time to think about dog. It's just I see a dog and my brain sends a signal, and I'm going to talk about that brain very soon. It sends a signal, I'm scared now, or I'm going through something called fear. If that is what is happening in my mind, the behavior is going to be consistent with it, which is I'm going to run away from it. So my behavior towards my dog is because of my thoughts and because of how I feel. Now, if someone as a child grew up among dogs and loved dogs, perhaps when they see a dog, the feeling they might have is not necessarily fear, but perhaps love. And if they love the dog, the behavior would be that they're gonna go and they pick up the dog and do whatever you. Now, how does it apply to us? The opposite is also true. That is, the relationship is secular. The relationship is secular means that how I behave in a given situation is an indicator of how I would, what I think about the given situation. It's an therefore, things like, oh, if you love me, you would have done the dishes. So because we think if you acted that way, the feeling would have been lost. So the opposite is also true. Therefore, we say these sentences in our lives. And working with kids, we say, if you respected me, you would have done this for me. Many a times we ask, the reason why we go towards the behavior is because you can look at it, isn't it? You can like if there's a CCTV camera somewhere, they can look at the behavior, but they can't look at the thoughts and they can't look at the emotions. So we can't see them, so we don't necessarily work on them. It's too abstract for us. So we focus on behavior, and therefore I say that I get called many a times to talk about behavior management. People don't say, hey, so come here and let's have a talk about thought management session. No, what is a thought management session? But as you can see, thoughts are something which are more important than anything in governing behavior and for our own well-being. We're going to talk about that soon. But let's start with this theory first, okay? So this is where I'm going psychology, okay? So you can do more research on this. I think I have put the name up here, there here, so you can Google this name, and of course you can Google CBT. So talking about attention, conscious or unconscious attention. So I'll give you an example which happened only a couple of nights ago with me. Because we were in quarantine in Queensland as well, I was watching Netflix, as you do. And I've been watching Netflix about several things recently, and I thought, you know what? This comedy horror sounds like a good idea, because I watched YouTube and somebody recommended this movie on that. So I watched this movie and everything is okay, fine, la 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 la. I went to bed, and because I live alone with my small doggo, any noise, usually I just blame it on the rain or the breeze or the wind. Yeah. But this night, because I had watched the horror movie, I was lying down and I heard a small noise, a small sound somewhere. And my thoughts were not paying attention to the rain outside, but my thoughts were paying unconscious attention to the movie I had seen. I watched a few hours ago. And here's my behavior. My feelings were like I was getting scared. And my behavior was, I was looking at my chihuahua and I'm making sure that he's awake so that if anything happens, he'll protect me. Desperate times, desperate measures. I mean, if you look at him, he can't, nothing is ever scared of him, ever. So this is about my behavior, about how my attention, if it goes towards the horror movie, my behavior will go towards that. If my attention is towards something else, I would act something else. So therefore, we in many behavior management strategies, and I don't like to use that word, but in many behavior management strategies, we say that let's redirect the child, or let's redirect ourselves. Why do we say that? Is if we were to start thinking about something else, and it's not escapism, it's not that, oh, let's not think about important things in our life. I'm not saying that. But in terms of those panic, and in terms of in times of those panic, in times of where you're not feeling well, the best thing we can do is have a look at what is my current thought processes right now, and what else can I bring it in. So I'm reading this recent book, and it's amazing how it's a funny book. I'm not sure if you can see it. It's a funny book, but it also talks about really core issues. Let me hold it for longer. It's called Being Happy. So in that book, he says that let's say you go to a shop. In the shop, let's say you go to a 7-Eleven or convenience store, and the person says, "What do you want?" Do you go there and say, "What do you not want?" Or do you go there and say, "What do you actually want?" Like, do you go there and say, "Don't want milk, I don't want a hat, I don't want to buy a sunglasses"? Like, you're wasting your time and wasting his time or her time. So if you know what you want, your focus should be on what you want, and your thoughts are going to wander, and we're going to talk about that for well-being purposes. But your focus should always be on what you want, and that's how your behavior is going to be consistent with that. And maybe now I might sound to you a bit spiritual or psychological. Okay, so just hold on to this triangle for the time being, because we're going to talk. All right, so moving on to our next concept of trigger, because that got me thinking, if thoughts is so important, then what about these triggers we get in our lives? So let's have a look at, oh, by the way, before I move to trigger, take a screenshot of this or take a photo of this. This is quite important. You know, I just said that thoughts are important, but now what I'm telling you is those thoughts are not even conscious many times. Those thoughts are like, it's already there. Dog comes in, you get scared, you run away. It's so quick, it's so fast. And the problem is not that we see thoughts as thoughts, we see thoughts as reality. So we say, oh my God, danger situation, I'm out, and you're out. Meanwhile, there's someone else standing in the same position thinking, I like this. So it's very interesting that the thoughts and emotions, therefore, by many theorists, have been considered as not real. So I'm going to use a word right now, which I have not written on my slide. So perhaps write it down if you may. It's called cognitive, C-O-G-N-I-T-I-V-E, cognitive fusion, F-U-S-I-O-N, cognitive fusion. That means a moment, the moment where what you think that what you think is equal to reality. That means if you don't like dogs, all dogs are bad. You are so convinced that what you think is real. And because of that, you take actions based on your thinking. And that's okay. I'm not saying that you should all change that. No, no, no. I'm just saying that phenomena is called cognitive fusion. Many times it works for us, but many times it doesn't work for us because we stay in the same loop. And therefore, in our lives, the same patterns keeps repeating. When I share the strategies with you, I will be sharing the strategies of me trying to do opposite of cognitive fusion, and that is called cognitive diffusion, where I just let my thoughts be my thoughts and not take any action on them. Okay, well, we'll talk about that strategies later, but at the moment, just understand the importance of thoughts. So far, so good. I can't see, so I'm really hoping that you all are getting something out of that. So let's talk about the word trigger. Now, let's say, as per this slide, let's say thoughts are automatic. Just for argument's sake, just for the next few seconds, let's say thoughts are automatic. That would mean many times we get triggered, and that could be automatic too. Sometimes we say, oh, I just don't feel good. I feel bad. Oh, I didn't get the best vibe, so I didn't invite him or her to my birthday party. So it's like we get triggered. And I'm saying, as per the previous slide, what if it's automatic, not in your hand, and let's say we are unaware and we keep getting triggered by certain things. Okay, so let's have a look. Here's the conclusion of this. Trigger is equal to a neutral stimulus, that is a dog. Dog is a dog. He's not a good dog. He's not a bad dog. He's just a dog. I mean, he's a good boy, but dog is a dog, yeah? But if I add that dog to an emotional experience, a negative one, for you, the dog becomes a bad dog. Not inherently for the whole world, the dog is a bad dog. So this may sound very simple to you, but you would see that even during COVID-19 times, in fact, I was having a chat with Bobby yesterday about this, that some people actually like the lockdown. They are loving it. Lockdown, as soon as they see, oh, 7 more days of lockdown, they're like, woohoo. For me, the lockdown is like, okay, what can I now do to make the most of it? But for some, lockdown is equal to end of the story. It just doesn't work for them. So if lockdown is triggering us, it is so much to do with our connection with the lockdown. The way we think about it is the way we feel about it, is the way we act on it. Sounds quite superficial, but there are ways that we can put a positive narrative on that. And I'm not saying undeniably stay positive for the whole rest of your day. That's dismissive of our emotions. In fact, I am talking about how to be a bit more aware of our emotion and accepting of our emotions. But before we dwell into the emotions, it is important to see that trigger is a good news. Trigger is a good news because it tells us something about us. It tells us something about us as to if you are getting triggered, there is something undealt with that this situation causes trigger in you. Okay, now I'm going to stop the sharing here, and I'm going to add something here. Moving from here on, as you can see where I'm heading, this will bring emotions to some of you. Well, I told you it's emotion and resilience, so it's going to bring emotions like an. So if this is not the right time to hear those things for you, and let's face it, it's Monday, then I understand that you might have to leave the session and then contact me again, and we can talk about that. Okay, I am recording this session, so if it brings those undesirable emotions, then I would understand why you might. But I am going to share strategies, and I have 25 more minutes, and I would love. So there are. Let me share the screen with you again. We're going to now talk about emotions a bit. There are 6 emotions. Now, if you love Inside Out movie, don't hate me. Yes, in that movie, the love and happiness is used differently. But I'm going by, oh, I should have also written up the reference here. I'm going by, I have written the reference somewhere else, but I'm not sure which slide it is. I'm going to show the book in front of you. It's Calming the Emotional Storm by Sherry Wen Dijk. So I don't want to pronounce it wrongly. Sherry Wen Dick, Master of Social Work, Calming the Emotional Storm. Okay. As per that book, we talk about 6 emotions. And it's interesting that an introduction of a dog brings anger to me, fear to me, but an introduction of dog may bring love to someone. And therefore, one of the biggest myths about emotion is that emotions are not real. Thank you very much, Bobby, for sharing that. Emotions are not real. The reason why we say it, emotions are not real, is what is real in that situation is the dog is the real. What you think about the dog is your interpretation. I'm not putting the onus on you and saying you deal with it. I'm not saying it. It is actually a good news that we are the instigator of that emotion, and therefore we can do something about that. And that is going to come in the strategies very soon. So let's have a look at emotions and the interpretation. Situation, dog enters my life. Interpretation, oh, I am so scared. Emotion, fear. My personal interpretation, fear. So from now on, here's what my invitation to you is. You feel a certain way, and I'm on Facebook groups, and I see that people talk about respect, people talk about that person does not do this, and that person disrespects me. And here's what I'm talking about, trigger. That person does this, and I feel disrespected would be a good sentence to say, just so that you are giving a narrative to your own mind. I am in control of the situation. Look, I'm not saying that if somebody punches you or pushes you or does not reply to your email or completely dismisses your identity, your dignity, that you say, oh, I feel disrespected. But I'm saying that by saying I feel this way gives you the power to do something about it. Otherwise, it will always be dealt with. If he or she can fix his or her own way, then I will be happy. I'm very sure that we'll find a way to be unhappy very soon because somebody else will make us upset. So the resilience comes from not having everybody fixed in our lives, but rather this how to build resilience in our lives in a way that when those situations occur, that we are not, our emotions are there and we should admit them. Oh yeah, I'm feeling sad, but it is I am feeling sad. Will give you some options to deal with that sadness rather than getting triggered unconsciously and not knowing what to do with it because you are already. I hope that the CBT, cognitive behavior therapy, it explains a little bit more about holistically, a bit more on triggers, and then also the emotional experiences and how individualistic it is. Our emotions are so important and so personal to us. It's a realization that we all have had, maybe not realization, maybe the awareness of it. Maybe we all know about it, but we don't necessarily relate to it because most of the time, this is how the movies have taught us, or sometimes the social interaction. Oh, he hurt my feelings, or she hurt my feelings, or they don't respect me, or this or that or that, or the government is going to jab us, and the military. All of those things does not have us in the center of our own world. So step one of our well-being is that we see that we have a lot of power in us, immense power. So it's not that I'm saying people. Sorry, when I look down, I look at you guys. When I say that we have immense power, is because I really believe that we are uh, powerful. So now I've shared with you 6 emotions: fear, sadness, happiness, love, shame, guilt. Shame and guilt go hand in hand. Anger. So now I'm going to ask you a different question, and I will share a story with it to see what you think of it. My question is, what is your core emotion? But don't have to answer that because I'm going to put a poll. But let me tell you a story quickly so that you see what I mean by the word core emotion or secondary emotion. Let's go with secondary emotion. That's more acceptable than core emotion. So secondary emotion. I'm a child, going back when I was 8 years old. There was a communal riot in India, civil war, as one may say. My sister and I are twins. For those who have had me in a session, you know that I talk about my sister a lot. And for those who don't know, therefore I have beard because we look alike. No, we don't look alike. I look way better than her. No, I'm just kidding. she's she's good looking too. Um, in fact, she's very good looking. So now, as a child growing up, there was uh, 1993. I was 8 years old. Because of communal riots, my parents had to protect us. And this is how they did it. We used to live in an apartment. And when the rumors came that they are coming, that means anyone who would like to kill the babies or kill the people, because it was a civil war, so people were just fighting each other, and there's no right person in that. To protect us, what my parents did is they went upstairs on the terrace, and my parents weren't the only one. There were lots of other group of people who did the same. And what they did is they went upstairs on the terrace, and on the terrace they had what we call as some small rocks and boulders and uh, and some glasses and some chili flakes and all that, powdered chili and all that. So if somebody was to try to enter the apartment, they can throw the rocks from there. They never had to use it, but they were just protecting themselves from that. So as my parents are going upstairs, to the terrace, of course, I'm going to chase them. I'm going to follow my parents in the house. My mom ran away upstairs. She was the first one because the rumor was they're coming. All I remember is like, they're coming. My mom stands up, she runs out. My dad follows her. And as he's following her, I am running after my dad and my sister behind me. My dad goes through the door, holds the door, pushes me a little back, and he's about to shut the door on me. And he's shutting the door on me, okay, because he didn't want me to go on the terrace, or us, like my sister and I. As he's about to shut the door on me, he looks at me and says this, and I'm going to come close to the camera so you can see what my dad did. He comes close to the camera, close to the door and says, "Look after your sister," and he shuts the door. And then I see from this side that my dad is locking the door, so I could see the door being locked. And here the message to an 8-year-old child: look after your sister. Now, my sister is older than me by 22 minutes, so she should be looking after me. That's my rationale. But anyways, he says, look after your sister. Now, my emotion, primary emotion at that time was that I was scared, fear. My sister's primary emotion was fear. But see how we deal with this emotion. When my sister, so I turn back and I look at my sister and she's crying. She's crying crazy. My dad said, look after my sister. So in that very moment, I had to make a decision. My question to you is, and please turn off your mic or use the text message. If my sister is crying and I have to look after her, what can I not do in that moment? There's one thing I can't do. There's several things I can't do, but I think I can't do one thing. And there's one thing definitely I can't do. If my sister is crying, what can I not do? There's a message here, sorry. Exactly. Show fear by crying. Let's say if I was to add Marley and Sarah's email together, Sarah, I can't show fear. I cannot show that emotion and I cannot cry. So what's good people? So this is how it looked like. This is what I did. Oh yeah, and look after yourself. Maybe yeah, Alexander, thank you. Like I never thought of that. So this is what I did. I looked at my sister without crying. I said this. I got this. Means I got this. It's like it's a very subconscious thing. I got this. Now, those who know me know how many times subconsciously I say these things. I got this. I got this. And this is I was unaware of me doing that I hide my emotions. Men don't cry. Many times if a man is sad and he cries, we say, you cry like a baby or you cry like a girl. It's all these societal environment feeding something in us over and over again, because of which our emotions and the way we deal with emotions is different. So here's the primary emotion. The primary emotion is fear, but in that moment. But I hid my fear. So what would be my secondary emotion? If I keep hiding my sadness over and over again for 10 days in a row, if I keep hiding my sadness, it's eventually going to come out in, let's say, anger, maybe in more sadness, maybe fear, maybe shame. Oh, I couldn't look after my sister, maybe shame, maybe guilt. So many a times when we haven't dealt with our primary emotions, what we are dealing with then is, or people around us, is the secondary emotion. So when you're working with children, that's not the focus of the day, but behavior is the third step. First step is thoughts, emotion, then behavior. And I'm saying thoughts, primary emotion, secondary emotion, tertiary emotions, and then behavior maybe. Okay, so a fly on the wall looks at me and says, wow, this kid is not scared of communal riot. I was scared of the riots as well. It's just that I couldn't show it. So if you just looked at my behavior, you'll think I'm a Superman. I was not, and I am not necessarily. So far so good, people. Yeah. So let's go back to the question I actually had put up for you. Not that you know this, but what is the secondary emotion you revert to when you can't express your feeling? when you don't get the emails that you were expecting, when people don't answer to your calls when you were expecting, or they lie to you, or they disrespect you, or government is not listening to you and you're losing finances one after the other, what's the one where you go to more often? 3, 2, 1. Thank you. If it is okay, I might just share the results. It's anonymous anyway, so I have no idea, and I'm not. uh, Anger, yeah. See, anger, fear, sadness, shame and guilt. Hey, shame, guilt people. I am shame, guilt people. I am always shame and guilt because as a son growing up. So, by the way, all what I'm sharing with you took me a couple of months to realize all of this, and of course, I'm not sharing everything with you right now because there's a whole journal of awareness that we can do. It took me a few weeks to and I'm still learning. So this is an invitation I have for you, that more of self-awareness reduces anxiety, stress, and more well-being happens. Of course, I can talk about it for the whole day, but I'm just giving you some snippets of it. So another example is, for me, shame and guilt is my primary is my emotion to go to, because as I was growing up as a male individual, growing up in third world nation, India, at that time at least, I had some responsibilities, such as that must study hard and must score enough marks. Otherwise, I will starve to death. And that is true for many people who are in India, because there is no government welfare. So how it showed up in my life is, during the examination, let's say if there's a mathematics examination, I will wake up much earlier. Again, we are twins. Oh, and I am studying and she's not, and it has nothing to do with what she's necessarily choosing. It's very unconscious, very subconscious. Is the environment playing its role in it? And my sister gets up and she gets up, does the exam. So when if I score 83 marks in mathematics, I very well remember I scored 83 marks in year 4 mathematics. That wasn't a problem. The problem was my parents' interpretation of that, because the people who we knew scored 92 marks. So the shame and guilt, the judgment was always there by my parents, not on purpose. But I carry that judgment with me even today. That is, if I'm not performing the best, I'm not good enough. And that's a narrative which I deal with. And my triggers mostly are based on that. And if I keep holding my shame and guilt, of course, it's going to come out in anger. But the shame and guilt is very prominent in this world of judgment. So thank you very much for sharing your thing. And I'm going to now share with you what part of the brain is responsible for these things, and then the strategies. Am I making sense so far, people? So far, so good? Yeah. One thing I forgot to share about emotion, and that is also in podcast, we recorded that, and that is, what is emotion and what is the difference between thoughts, emotions, or thoughts, feelings, and emotion. The way you can make a difference is this. I think about the horror movie, that's just a thought. But when I start breathing heavily, that's an emotion. Okay, that's an emotion, because now there's a physiological response of my body. Heart beats up, sweaty palm, and more attention. Remember, thoughts, more emotions. So if there is a physiological charge of your body, that's called emotion. Okay, otherwise it's just thoughts. I say dog, nothing happened. See a dog, heart beats up, love, emotion. So if you ever want to say, are you being emotional? Check your body. Your body is telling you something. So because that's that's emotion. So what did I just say? Your body is telling you something. That means, what is the function of emotion? The function of emotion is to motivate you, is to inform you, or is to communicate to you. Many times I'm on Facebook, and people talk about hey, what are the strategies for this? This child did this, or my staff member did this, or and I've heard people say, oh, they are trying to communicate something to you. Okay, cool, that's amazing. Now let's come to us. Our body physiologically is communicating something to us at all times. So if you're angry but you're motivated to show it to others, that's like, then thanks to that anger, man, because now you're motivated to do things you would not have done in the past. Sometimes it just gives you an information. It seems I don't like it. Every time people talk about this thing, I get triggered, and everybody else is enjoying their time, but I am the only one who's triggered in this room. It's an information. It's like an unexplored territory. Cool. All right. Maybe maybe I need to go to some people who can help me figure this out, or counselor, or just find a community which is, talks about these things. And also communication, not just to you, but to people around you. If you're angry and sad and people around you, it's the communication, like, back off. So emotions are so important, although one may say it's not real, but the physiological responses are real. And that's amazing, because if you and I can, and I have this as one of the strategies, which I'll tell you later, in terms of gathering emotions, like every time there's an emotion, I am journaling it. I'm like, okay, this happened, this, more and more aware of myself. It just works. It just works now. Okay, but it's more like a new habit. Function of emotion. I can talk about this for an hour, and I do in my sessions. So I'm going to move on, if that's okay, because you don't have much time remaining. And I'm now going to talk about where this stress or anxiety or sadness or happiness and all of that comes from. And it comes from the, please listen to, we talked about amygdala in detail there, but I'm going to talk a bit more on that now. Okay. Amygdala is a part of the brain, let's say a generational brain. It has been taking snapshots of the events in our life subconsciously. It's a part of the brain which has been taking snapshots from the before you were born. Like it is genetically taking, for human survival, it's been taking snapshots to protect us. Therefore, even a baby knows large sound. How does a baby sense danger? It's not that you've taught stranger danger to them. How does it do it? How does a baby know, oh, this is the attachment, this is my mom, and he's a weirdo? How does that know? How does a baby start fighting without you having trained baby fight? Why does a baby sometimes freeze like this? Why? Fight, flight, and freeze are already there with you before you learn about them. And they are the responses by amygdala. And of course, through prefrontal cortex as well. But I'm just going to talk about amygdala first. Okay? Amygdala is a part of our brain which gives us, okay, let me just share that screen with you so that you can take a screenshot of that if you want. Okay, from current slide. Okay, signals a threat or stress in the environment. It signals us, oh, there's a threat. Now, when I was writing this slide, I wrote signals a treat in the environment. I'm like, there's no treat in the environment. So before you start, Googling it, stay with me for a second, for a few minutes, yeah? Let me give you an example of how powerful amygdala is. You're driving a car and somebody else is driving in front of you. They slam a brake. What do? You slam your brakes too, right? It is so fast. It's not that you go, what am I thinking right now? What emotion I'm going through? What behavior should I do? Nah, amygdala will take a decision for you, woof, and then you'll do it. You will just so quickly do it. That's what the role of amygdala is. So powerful, so helpful. And it does not take permission from the prefrontal cortex, which is the, now it just takes the decision on its own. So let's see. If you are scared of heights and I ask you to stand right and I ask you to do bungee jump, what's happening to you? Sweaty palms, shaky legs, heart beats up. Where is this all coming from? Amygdala. Okay. Now, last night, when I was thinking, not last night, 2 nights ago, when I was thinking about this ghost, like the go because I watched horror movie. The rational brain, the prefrontal cortex, was like, that was just a movie. But my amygdala was like, okay, what if the thing comes here? All of that. Okay, so amygdala is important, but it's more powerful than prefrontal cortex, and therefore, sometimes during panic attacks, we do irrational things. If a child is doing irrational thing, or people are doing irrational things in your life, and you tell them logic, hey, calm down, count to 10, it doesn't work, does it? In times of panic, once the amygdala kicks in, it does not take permission from anything. It just does its own thing. And what is this thing is, its thing is fight, flight, or freeze. Okay. So I have small videos on this. So I'll give you an irrational thought, but show you how your amygdala is more powerful than your cortex, which is the rational thoughts. So here's a story about our past, true story. The story goes like this. In the past, when we did not contribute, in the past means many days when many thousands of years ago, when we used to hunt for our food, if we did not provide enough to the community, if it didn't hunt food, if it didn't gather food, or if it didn't cook good food, if it didn't provide for our community, the community would outcast us. Yes? Quarantine us. That's where the word comes from. Everybody okay with that? I'm just looking at you guys now, yeah? So far, so good? So it will quarantine us. Like, oh, sorry, you're not good enough, get out of this. Now, when they judged me not good enough and they put me alone, what does that mean in those days when we used to live in jungles and forests? If I'm alone in a forest, what does that mean? The community has moved on. I'm alone on my own. Unprotected, you die. Thank you. Thank you. Die. Vulnerable. Kathy, I'm just gonna die. Karina, yeah. Rejected is a term we can use today. But in those times, rejection is equal to death. So far, so good? Even today, we say these words, I don't want to die alone. Where is that coming from? I don't want to die alone. That's amygdala not liking loneliness, because we do not see loneliness as loneliness. We see interpretation of that is, I'm lonely because nobody likes me, which is equal to death. So far, so good? Now, it's irrational now because you can survive loneliness in 2021 in Australia. You can order Uber Eats, you can get food delivered, you can have Netflix, you can have internet, you can have everything. So you're not going to die. But the feeling we go through, fear, sadness, anger, is because amygdala has not made connections yet. It's interesting that more people die of car accidents rather than spiders. But when we see spider, we act very differently as compared to when we see a spider, a car. What does that mean? Amygdala has already made a connection. Remember, experience. Snake, spiders kill you. So when you see a snake, you jump. If you had a bad car accident, hopefully none of you have gone through that. And I'm sorry if I bring that trauma back up in your life, but if you have gone through a car accident, or if you've seen a bad car accident, then you will also start acting, oh my God, a car accident. Amygdala. So amygdala is the most, maybe we should do a whole session on amygdala one day, is very important that you realize the importance of amygdala, in fight, flight, and freeze response. I'm now going to share strategies with you, but before I share strategies, I want to just bring things to a nutshell. Why those strategies are the way they are. Otherwise, this whole session would not make sense. The most important thing is the thoughts and the experiences we have had in our lives. Amygdala has an experience from the past called loneliness is equal to death. And because amygdala is stronger than the rational brain, although we know it is not death anymore, if we haven't worked on our amygdalas, it will bring stress to our life without us knowing. And another example of amygdala induced stress and anxiety is public speaking. In the past, eyes looking at you is equal to death because when we went to hunt for food, if all the eyes of the wolves were looking at you, meant that you will now be hunted. Interesting thought. When you go for public speaking, nobody's going to eat you, but the amygdala does not like eye contact. You can do that in your lives. You can sit with 5 people and say to them, look at me for 5 seconds without blinking your eyes, and you'll start feeling uncomfortable. Irrational, isn't it? But try explaining that just because I've said this the story to you now, that it comes from us being hunted. Although you know that now, doesn't mean that you're going to go up and stand on the stage and start speaking from tomorrow on. Therefore, I'm saying today's session is all about knowing where it all comes from. But now this is the beginning of how do we deal with those things. Amygdala's language, last giving takeaway, amygdala's language is association. Amygdala, association. If you have positive association with dogs, you will not feel threatened by a dog. If you have positive association with spiders, you would not be scared of spiders. It's that simple. So now that if our body is going through some sadness or fear, the body is communicating something to us. Yes? If the body is communicating something to us, great point. That means we just realized something about ourselves. I'm stressed. What do I now do about this? So let's have a look. These are some of the things which I'm doing in my life now. Mindfulness, formal and informal. What does that mean? I sit down and focus on one thing at a time, one moment at a time. Meditation. Why? Because most of the anxiety or stress comes from us imagining something which will happen in the future to us. In this current moment, there is no tiger or a bear chasing you. But if you imagine ghost, which I was a few days ago in the night, what I was not focusing on was in that very moment, my breathing, my physiological responses, just taking one moment at a time. I do it formally and I also do it informally. Formal means sitting down and meditating for 5-10 minutes. No matter how much my phone buzzes, no matter what's happening, I let my thoughts be my thoughts. So far, so good. I don't act on. Okay, so now what I also do is I non-judgmentally bring my focus back to it. So if I was focusing on my breathing, of course, my thoughts, 50,000 thoughts a day, will go towards the ghost, towards the tiger, towards everything. I non-judgmentally, because judgment is equal to death. Remember that? If people judge you as a bad speaker, we think we're going to die because they're going to quarantine us and the tigers are going to eat us. I know it's irrational, but that's the truth. Amygdala-based anxiety. I do that often enough so that when the stressful situation does come, my amygdala knows what to do. So I'm training my amygdala. And how do I train my amygdala? I train through prefrontal cortex. This is my gatekeeper. It allows me to put good things to my amygdala, not the bad things. Journaling. I have a journal. I'm not sure if you can see it. I write down my points on it when I read new stuff. Okay, and I color them. And then I have a divide in the middle, and I also journal about my own thoughts, my own personal triggers in my life. Why? Maybe because my parents said this, maybe because my teacher said this, maybe because my family members or someone who I care about said this. Maybe that's why I'm going through all of that. Journaling. And when I journal, I also am very non-judgmental and very forgiving of myself because I've always acted with the information I had. Because kids have not yet developed their PFC and their amygdala is grasping every experiences, we are superpowers, we are superheroes people, because whatever you say to the kids, they're going to believe it. We believed in the fact that if we eat watermelon seeds, watermelon will grow from our tummy. We were that silly. What does that mean? Amygdala is learning. So my amygdala learned fear and stress is equal to I got this. Today I have to rewire my brain because now I have my own gatekeeper. See, I didn't have that gatekeeper when I was 8 years old, but now I have it. So I use it for the right thing. I have to create a situation so that I am getting better at that. So for my own well-being, this is what I do. I practice forgiveness and affirmations in my life. Just a few of them here. I say I'm learning. So when I do anything wrong in the past, I would say, "Oh, you stupid Saurabh." I'll say, "I'm learning. I'm learning." That means I'm training my amygdala that this is okay. I'm taking control. Nobody's making me upset. I am taking control of this thing right now. It's my choice. I do deserve love, because many times you feel, oh, I feel so disrespected. I think my thoughts. Nobody else thinks my thoughts. I am the one who's thinking that. So of course I'm going to be going through anxiety because I'm the one who brought this thought in. Or at least I'm now becoming more aware of my thoughts. I'm learning. I'm learning. Wherever my focus goes, if it goes on the ghost story, my energy flows that way. So instead of sleeping, I was bloody being busy being scared. It's interesting. And the choice of words, my mind is always listening to everything I say. Therefore, I will never say to myself anything which I will not say to someone else. So you don't go to your friend and say, oh, stupid. So Thomas, I'm going to use your word if that's okay, and your name. I don't say, you stupid, Thomas. I don't say that. I have never said that to Thomas. So why would I say to myself, you stupid, Saurabh? Why would I say that? Treat yourself as you would treat your best friend. If Thomas comes to my house, I'm definitely going to feed him. So if I'm alone, I should feed myself, no matter how angry or upset I am. Feeding is important. Not just feeding, but look after yourself. That's so important. And then I create an environment which allows imagination and visualization. What I mean by that is, uh, behind me is a board which I've shared with some people in the past. Not sure if I can do that here, but um, no, can't see that because you can see the light. Sorry. There's a board behind me which says a few things. There's a mirror in my when I'm brushing my teeth. It says a few things because my amygdala, since I was a child, is grasping all the negative things, and now I have no choice. But since I have now the prefrontal cortex, I am taking control of what I do, what I should not do, and where is my focus and what is my goal. So if you write your goals, then focus on those things. Give yourself at least an hour of your life to do it. What you're actually doing is you're rewiring your narrative. You're rewiring your thought processes. Your anxiety, your emotions are a byproduct of your thoughts and the interpretation. Um, this is what I do for a living now. I do in-house trainings. Yes, I come to your school and we work together. I do hands-on training with children and with staff members. I love that. Yes, we do while the children are in care, online training on leadership and online training with your staff members. And yes, those smiles were paid $5 each and they all smile, which is good. Then there's a webinar series. That means you buy one-off webinar series, but you get 12 webinars, one every month for your team, just like this, pre-recorded, but you get checklists, so you get worksheets, webinar, and of course the phone support. So you will never, and you get to keep that for 1 year. That means you can watch it over and over again, and you can always give me a call and say, hey, my new staff has entered, and you can just show them the fourth or fifth webinar you're in. So the schools who are with me, they watch one webinar per month, And if anybody else comes in, they say we are in episode number 4. Go and watch the previous 3, just like you watched Netflix together. Anyways, please like my Facebook page and Instagram page, We Belong Education, because I put videos on that. Some videos such like this, some snippets of it. I also have started my YouTube channel. You have to write, sorry, this is my website. If you click resources, it will take you to my YouTube channel and to some other videos which are not on YouTube. So YouTube doesn't have all the videos yet. But if you do click on my YouTube channel, this is the emotions and behavior I was talking about. Only 2-minute video, 3-minute video, and 3-minute video. You can watch this. I've talked a bit more about prefrontal cortex and amygdala. And of course, after the bell, Bobby is here. Thank you, Bobby, for co-hosting all these sessions with me. And my website, for some reason, is not allowing people to get in touch with me. So here's the phone number and the website and the way you can get in touch with me. Hi, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this session. If you like such content, then please follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. The links are in the description below. Please also share this video with people you think this conversation could be useful. Till the next video, look after yourself and the people you love. Have a good one.